Welcome to the new talk show, Talking Talent. I'm Coach Q. I'm here with an exceptional talent, and joining me again for the second time, it's International Master Keaton Kierwa. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me again, Keaton. I appreciate that. How do you feel to be on the show?
Thank you so much, Coach Q. I'm honored. Always great to be here. I feel like our last interview went great, so really happy to do another one. Although I had forgotten the name of your show, and when you said it was about talent, my first reaction was like, and you're having me on the show? Like, are you sure you know what you're getting into?
Well, if you don't do well in the show, you could go down to Sunset Boulevard here. There's a few clubs that you can play in, and then you'll get a few laughs out of the jokes. Okay, well, that's not your main talent, though. Your main talent is definitely chess. That's why you're on the show. So first, let's talk about your own talent as a chess player and your rise to the international master level. We talked a little bit about it in the last interview, but we can break it down a little bit more here. And I would say, what age, let's just start for anybody that didn't see the previous interview, what age did you first realize that you had chess talent? Maybe even your parents or any coaches or anything like that around you?
Well, originally my dad started me off with chess because I was showing talent in other strategic games. And so because chess is the ultimate strategic game, he decided to teach me chess. And I didn't quite pick it up right away at age 4 when he tried to teach me. But then when I was 7, I really started to take to chess.
Nice. And then at the age of 7, I'm assuming you started playing tournaments, right?
Yeah, I did start right away with tournaments.
That's great. Can you remember who the first titled player that you beat was?
Titled as in like FM or higher?
Yeah, I know, even master or expert, that anything that made you really excited to beat them.
So I grew up playing chess in Nebraska, and even master level chess players in Nebraska were very hard to come by.
Wow!
But when I was growing up, the big shot in Nebraska was this guy named Kevin Fleming. He was actually my first coach. We didn't work together for too long, I think, just because he moved to a different part of the state. But he was a strong expert who had been over 2,200 before, had been a master, a really great guy, just really friendly, amazing guy. And he was kind of chess in Nebraska at that time. I think he was the 5-time state champion.
Okay.
He was in everyone else's head. He had all the other players psyched out. He was considered kind of the player that you couldn't beat. So I would say the first time I beat him, it was pretty surreal. I was probably rated around 1,700 at the time, and he was well in the 2,100s. And my coach never could beat him. My coach was about a 1,900 level player who had maybe like half a point out of 20 against this guy or something like that. So when I first beat him, that felt pretty surreal.
That's really exciting, actually. I'm really glad that I asked you that question. I had no idea where that was going. So Kevin Fleming was like the Nebraska guy.
He was, yeah.
You beat him when you were 1,700. Was that just because your rating hadn't caught up to your skill yet?
I don't think so. I was probably a little bit underrated, but I don't think I was very underrated or anything like that. I think he was the stronger player. I think, things just went my way. I was able to get a win.
Okay. Do you remember the game at all? I'm just curious.
The first time I beat him, I think he always played D4, and I think I was black. Maybe it was some kind of Nimzo Indian or something like that. I think he sacrificed. I think he had a good attack on my king, and he was sacrificing material, but I think I was able to kind of run with my king and stay up a rook and then bring it home. I think it went something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah, I was just curious to test your memory on
I don't remember exactly if that's the first time I beat him, but I remember so many of our games. He was always a D4 player with white, so I played the Nimzo then for some reason, so I was always having like a lot of Nimzo games with black, and then
Wait, what do you play now then?
Oh, I haven't played the Nimzo in decades. I play King's Indian, Semitarash, QGD.
Okay.
Yeah, but Nimzo, it's been. I'm definitely not saying the Nimzo's a bad opening, but it's just
Right.
It's not an opening that's played any role whatsoever in my actual chess career. So it's kind of funny to think back on. The opening I always remember getting against him with white, though. He was a big time Caro-Kann player.
Okay.
And he especially liked the knight d7 line that was so topical around the deep blue Kasparov match.
Right.
So I got that position against him several times where white sacrificed the piece, and I knew that theory. And at first, he would always outplay me. I'd never get enough, and he'd win. But then as I got to be a bit stronger, 2000, 2100, I won a lot of games with white from those positions.
Okay, can we reveal how long ago that was?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's when I was like a young teenager, teenager. So we're talking about 20 years ago.
All right. All right. So you still remember all of that from 20 years ago. Is that memory important for top chess talent?
I'd say so, and I think it's commonplace for strong chess players, titled chess players. They seem to have a knack for remembering their own games. It's kind of a crazy thing about chess. It's like I can remember games I played before I was 10 years old, and positions I had, and people I played, and stuff like that. And I think there's always a trigger that brings that memory back. You see a position, you're like, wait a minute, I've seen this before. And the feelings start to come back and that kind of thing. So I think having a memory like that is very commonplace for title players. And I think I'm probably at the weaker end of the spectrum as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I do have it to some extent.
When did you realize you had that kind of memory?
I think my memory was always pretty good as far as like the way I got tested and in school and that kind of thing. I think memories, at least memory for stories and events and that kind of thing, or facts, it's been one of my stronger points, I would say.
Do you picture anything when you're thinking about a game? I'm just wondering if there's some like memory palace element to this at all.
Or like Timur Gureyev school?
Yeah, like anything like that.
Like this room is Princess Diana. I don't do anything. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I don't do anything like that.
Right. Yeah. You might not be aware of any of the crossover memory techniques. I think chess is really good because it uses multiple loci in the sense of like there's a specific location in space on the board. And that does help you remember more than just concepts, right?
There actually is a slightly interesting tangent that I can go off on here.
Go.
I think we talked a little bit about my dad last time. He's an educational psychology professor, and he studies memory.
Sure.
And there was something that he used to do and something that he taught me when I was a kid, that it's like if you don't know how someone's doing this, it can be kind of astounding. And that is basically someone will give you 15 items or words. So it can be shoe, bird, room, stuff like that. and they can just tell you, and they're numbered 1 through 15. And then you can say, okay, so tell me either an item or a number, and I'll give you what corresponds with it. So they can say 7. Oh, 7 was TV. That they can say, okay, which number was book? Oh, book was 13. Right. And it's like, whoa, where did that memory come from? But what you're actually doing is you're making a very strong association as you get each word. It's like you already have each number associated with some kind of concept that's different from all the other concepts.
Right.
Like I remember, for example, number 7 was Michael Bishop. He was my favorite Kansas State quarterback when I was growing up watching football, who wore number 7.
That's
so
great.
If they said kite, I think, okay, Michael Bishop flying a kite. So I'd make some kind of association like that. Yeah. And that's like a strategy that, you can use to remember random stuff.
Yeah, I actually found I did a test with this sort of visualization with trying to remember players' names in games. I
Okay.
can remember positions a lot better than I can remember who actually played the game. Someone can show me a random position, and a lot of times I'll know the position, but then totally forget the player. And so I did a test like that, a memory palace type technique, and I did remember the games pretty well, or at least the players of the games. Okay, but let's move back to talking about Michael Fleming, because it's so fascinating.
Yeah, Kevin Fleming.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin Fleming. Sorry, there's many Flemings in my head, I guess.
Oh,
Kevin Fleming. I apologize, Kevin, if you're watching. So Kevin was the guy in Nebraska, and you beat him, right? So once you beat him, I mean, did you think, oh, I can do something real with chess, or were you?
I think I'd always thought I could do something real with chess. I don't think I ever questioned that. Maybe I was naive. I don't know. But I always wanted to be world champion, and
Right,
I always
right.
I always thought I could be world champion. So
Right.
I didn't usually have a lot of doubt in what I could accomplish.
Okay. That's pretty interesting, actually. So you did want to be world champion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
I mean, of course, not that I knew what being world champion was or what it meant.
True,
but,
true.
Yeah.
I mean, having a goal like that to focus on, or even just a big dream, did obviously that spurred you on. Do you think that spurs other talented young players on?
Yeah, without question.
Yeah.
Without question.
And then
I think in the vast majority of cases, I think it would be very rare to find a young talent.
right. Hold on one second. I'm having a little bit of audio issues. I apologize. Sorry, I accidentally pulled a cord out here. Hold on. Just trying to fix it real quick. All right. That is terrible. Sorry about that, Keaton. Hold on one second here. Break for everybody. I got too excited and pulled it out, and it's not working properly now. That's really annoying. 1 second. Change it back. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, everybody. I'll try to edit that out in YouTube Studio.
Yeah, but the people who are watching live are out of luck.
Yeah. So let's pick back up though, talking about how it would be strange if talented players didn't have that kind of big dream and big goal to look look for.
Yeah.
So what were you saying about that? Just
Yeah,
in case
just that it would be very strange. I haven't seen it very often, like a talented young player who's playing only for love of the game and passion, and isn't paying attention to their titles or prizes or norms or rating or that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we'll definitely talk a little bit more about this later in the conversation, but I want to talk about what's personal to you. Who were you looking up to at the time? I mean, I'm assuming there's the obvious players, but just give me a few players that you really looked up to and
Sure. Well, my hero was Kasparov. He was
Right.
the world champion at the time. He was dominant. I
Right.
loved his games. I loved the way he played. I loved his competitive nature. You know, how he had a chip on his shoulder and stuff like that. So, yeah, Kasparov was my hero, big time. I think I learned a lot from Nakamura as I got old, you know, a little bit older, like as a teenager and that kind of thing. And even though I beat him, you know, as a teenager, the only time we played, and that was a pretty big deal at the time.
That is a big deal. I always a big deal.
I still idolized him, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even then he was a really big deal. He was the world's youngest master, and he was in all the magazines and that kind of thing. But I loved the passion that he had for the game. I loved his competitive nature. I've always thought that he took that a little bit too far sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I still respected it, and I still tried. I wanted to learn what I could from his approach to chess.
That's super interesting. So when did you beat him?
That was when we were both 13 because we're the same age, and that was, I think, the 2000 U.S. Open in St. Paul, Minnesota. It was round 8. You know, he was in the 2300s. I was in the 1900s, and yeah, I got the white side of Bishop G5 Najdorf, which is something I was pretty happy with, and just kind of ended up in an end game up a pawn and was able to bring it home.
Oh man, those Najdorf positions are crazy. You knew all the theory?
Yeah.
You know all the theory there?
I don't know all the theory, but I know a good bit. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Those lines are just super nuts. I mean, I've played it a few times, but switched to the H3 Adams attack systems.
That seems like a good one too. I played that one time.
Yeah, those systems are just easier for me to play.
Well, yeah, they're very solid positions.
Yeah, exactly. That's super exciting, though. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there might be viewers in the audience that didn't know that you beat Nakamura. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't talk about it as much as I used to because it was so long ago. But yeah, I mean, definitely in my teenage years, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and then getting a victory like that's a really big victory. Were you a master then, or?
No, I was only 1900 then.
Oh, wow. You're only 1900. That's incredible. So then that must have really spurred you on to...
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it was also cool that the round after that, I got to play my first GM because I was doing so well in the U.S. Open. And so I got to play Shabalov, and I lost in about a half hour. So, but yeah, just being able to play people at that level. I think I've always been someone in a lot of areas who kind of learns almost through osmosis. I think if I were an anime character, I'd be one of the ones who can like steal people's abilities. It's kind of like give me some time with someone, you know, at the chessboard or the poker table, and I'll kind of figure out what they're doing and start to kind of adapt it, you know, and at least adapt the parts that I want to, you know, into my own game. I think that's something that I've always been able to do. So, you know, I think, yeah, definitely that tournament, getting to play those two guys and just getting to observe them, you know, see how they think, how they approach chess, how they play, you know, definitely was a big thing for me.
That's great. And then this is definitely sponsored by 1000 GM, so we thank them. And
yeah, they're amazing.
We brought you in as talent to play some events this year, and
I can actually say something good, whereas you know about my performance, whereas the last interview I really didn't have anything to write home about.
All right, yeah, let's hear it. How did the last event go?
Well, I got first prize in the last event.
All right, okay. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm sure you came head-to-head with a bunch of up-and-coming talent and some older talent. Well,
that's exactly what it was, because the format of the event is you have 4 titled players.
Yeah.
And you have 4 challengers who are, you know, younger, more up-and-coming players. And so the 4 title players play the 4 challengers. You don't play the people in your own group.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, I wasn't paying too much attention to the prizes. I think it was like the top 4 get a prize. But I was playing alongside my good friend Josh Shang, of course, a Southern California legend. And I said to Josh at one point, I was like, wait, is it only us competing for the prizes? Or are they eligible for the prizes too? And he said, it's everyone. And I was like, oh, crap, because I realized that some of the best competition might be coming from the challenger section.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be the case. The challengers really outperformed the title players for the most part.
Oh, that's exciting.
Well, what two of the GMs, I think, only won one game between them the entire weekend.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Nick DeFermian, a former U.S. champion, I think he got 2 out of 4 with 1 win and 2 draws. And then Enrico Seviano had a surprisingly disappointing performance with 1 out of 4, just 2 draws. Not to knock on Enrico, I was right there, with my 1 out of 9, at the last GM round robin. I definitely know it could be done.
Well, Enrico finished tied first in the senior open last year.
Oh, did he? Oh, good for him.
So he's pretty much on top of his game still, at least for his age bracket. So,
yeah. He's always a tough opponent.
Yeah, so even he had some trouble. That's very interesting. And
it was a tough event.
Who were the challengers? What were they rated like?
So my first opponent was Adve Vonsal, I think is his name. So his FIDE was under 2,000, but I knew he was still going to be ridiculously strong. I think he's like a USCF master. Really young kid. He might even be preteen. I'm not sure.
Okay, that makes sense then. That makes sense.
And then my second opponent was Austin May, who's a Bay Area legend. He plays all the tournaments, plays a lot of the hybrids. He just plays everything, and he's just very solid, very consistent. Really, just strong master level player. I think he's an FM. And then my third opponent was Shelev Oberoi, who has been playing a lot recently. He's definitely a strong, 2350 level player, another teenager. And then my final opponent is someone I know very well, Varun Krishnan from San Diego. So, we overlapped in San Diego for a long time and played a lot of chess there. And I know Varun and his family real well. And he's getting close to getting his IM title. He's been super serious about chess recently. He's been just working crazy hard on chess. So
that's awesome.
I hope he gets his IM title soon.
Yeah, so all the names you mentioned are like Southern and Northern California, just strong talent. So they're not like they're not any slouches at all.
I mean, let's be real. There's just an easy game is not something that exists anymore. I mean, it's just a thing of the past. Yeah,
we talked about that quite a bit. But let's transition a little bit to talk about Southern California chess.
Absolutely.
As you are a staple, I would say you're probably like the Wheaties or the Greens of Southern California chess. You've played
I'll take the nickname.
You've played so many events, like you're such a competitor. You always play these events, and you've worked with a ton of talent as well, not only, playing, but coaching. So, we talked a little bit about it before the interview, and you wanted to talk about a few players that you think are specifically talented from Southern California.
Absolutely. And I think they deserve a lot of attention and recognition, and they were already really good when I got there. But with these players, we also did a lot together. These are all people who I trained with extensively. We studied chess together. We traveled to tournaments together. With some of them, we ran camps together.
Right.
We played on the San Diego Surfers together.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely a lot of great memories with that. So namely these players would be Grandmasters Michael Brown and Josh Shang.
All right, let me pull them up here.
Yeah.
Let's go Michael Brown. Or I have Josh Shang up already, so we can talk.
Sure. So Josh Shang and Michael Brown, and then International Master Craig Hilby.
Oh, I just found a picture of you, Kachian, Shang, and Hilby and Tatev.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's a pretty iconic picture from one of our Pro Chess League matches.
Oh, that's great. Look at that. Okay. And you're towering above them in height.
I do that sometimes, yeah. If not in chess strength, at least in height.
Okay, well, let's talk about Shang for a second first, then, and then we'll go on to Michael Brown after that. So, let's talk about maybe something interesting, like when you first met Shang. When was the first time that you met
Yeah,
him?
so I think I met all those guys for the most part around 2014 because I moved to San Diego like December 2013. So I think it was probably sometime in 2014 I was starting to play tournaments and get
Yeah.
active in Southern California. And those guys were my peers and my rivals and my colleagues. So we're talking about Josh. He might have actually been the first one I met because I played him early on at a tournament in San Diego.
Okay.
And I think at that time his rating was only about 2,200. And,
Right.
I was pretty comfortably over 2,500. So it was definitely a game I was supposed to win with white, but I actually struggled to draw. And I just kind of wrote it off as, I had played in the 2-day schedule. So I was like, oh, my, fourth game in the day. I was tired.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Josh, so I didn't give him a ton of credit at that time.
Yeah, you didn't know his tenacity.
Oh, yeah. Josh is amazing.
Because I lost the game to him around that time, where I thought it was just a comfortable drawn-in game, and he just played on for like 50 moves until I was almost
So
out of time.
that's actually interesting because, like, of all the strong players, that's actually kind of the approach that I would associate Josh with the least.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I consider myself, kind of an old school grinder. So
Yeah.
it's like, if I get some technical ending, I'll just try to play it on forever until I squeeze something out. And I think, there are a lot of kind of old school professionals like that. I'd say, John Bryan is like that.
Right.
Melick, Michael Brown definitely is like that. But of all those players, I would actually say that Josh is the least like that.
No, that's
He
interesting.
has a very different kind of approach to chess.
Yeah.
He's very objective. And I would even go so far as to maybe speculate that there's a part of Josh where, like, if he doesn't get a winning position, he almost doesn't want to win. It's like there's something about almost the drive isn't there.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised.
It's probably
to
because
hear
I
you
was
say.
lower rated.
Oh, sure, yeah. Of course, he's going to
Yeah.
play it out,
Yeah.
or maybe he was better or something. But I would say, of all those players, I've always been a little bit surprised, that maybe he'll, agree to a draw on an equal position a little bit earlier than most would, or maybe
Oh,
he
okay.
would resign a lost position a little earlier than most would. I think in that way, Josh is really a chess purist.
Right.
And I think it also speaks to his honesty. It's like he really wants to win a game in his way,
Right.
the way he feels is the right way. He wants to, get an advantage, play the right moves and win the game. He's not as much trying to, just play, at tedium until he can like grind out a win or like play out a lost position in hopes of, trying to swindle something. Although he is very good at swindling, but like trying. But yeah, definitely he's he's a player who really likes to win games in his own style, I would say.
Okay, that's super interesting. And then a little bit more about him. When did you realize that he was going to, become a titled player, basically?
I'd say pretty early on. As for all those guys, it didn't take long to realize that their talent was immense.
Right.
And Josh was someone who would win tournaments, and I always respected that about him early on. Even when he was maybe only 2,300 and he would play tournaments with IMs or GMs, there'd be some times where he would kind of bomb and just have a really bad tournament. And then there'd be other times where he'd just win the tournament.
Right.
He'd beat players like me or John Bryant or Melick and some of the other strong players and just win tournaments ahead of us. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's super impressive. I mean, it takes so much to win the open section in any of those strong Southern California events.
Yeah, he used to win them a lot. So that impressed me, and that definitely made me realize that he had a ton of talent.
Okay, yeah. Then let's move on to maybe Michael Brown now. I like that idea.
Sure. So yeah, Michael, I first met. We actually played on a team together. I think I was introduced to Michael through Varun Krishnan, because they were very close friends, being around the same age and that kind of thing. And I think I was looking for a team for the U.S. Amateur Team West, and Varun suggested that Michael and I should play together on the top two boards, and we'd make a good 1-2 punch. So we did that. We made a team, and it was a good team, and I think we almost won, but not quite. But yeah, that was definitely a fun event where I got to know Michael really well. Now Michael is kind of I'd say almost a polar opposite of Josh. He's kind of everything Josh isn't. Josh is an openings guru. He'll convert entire books into opening files, working for days or weeks at a time. I mean, seriously, just a tireless worker who just incredible mental energy. Michael, I mean, he's someone who has a more narrow opening repertoire,
right.
And he knows his openings very well. He's very dangerous in his openings because he understands the deep positional subtleties. But I think Michael is much more a strategic positional player. He loves end games. He loves grinds. He's relentless. He won't give up a draw unless he has to. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, there's an amazing story I have to tell you.
All right, let's get into it. Yeah.
Regarding that. So yeah, when 1 year at the Chicago Open, round 2, Michael and I are right around the same rating. We're both around 2450 FIDE or something. And round 2, we just made the cut to play up. So Michael's on board 1, playing Yu Yang Yi, who's, of course, a legend, a Chinese grandmaster, well over 2,700. He's the highest rated player in the tournament by about 100 points. Wow. I'm on board 2, playing against another Chinese grandmaster, Jin Chaozhou. And so I'm keeping an eye on Michael's game, and Michael's on the black side of a pretty sharp Roy Lopez. That's another thing Michael would always just play. He'd meet E4 with E5 and just stand his ground, against really strong players. So they're in a really complicated mess of a position. And Yu Yang Yi offers Michael a draw almost with his hand out. He's almost, okay, draw? He never considered that Michael might want to consider, not taking the draw. So that was just written all over his body language as he offered the draw. And Michael's like, okay, let me think about it. So I still maybe at that point didn't know Michael super well. And I was like, okay, he's just trying to be cool. Obviously he's going to take the draw. But he thinks for about 5 minutes, and he declines the draw. He makes a move in just a really unclear position against Yu Yang Yi. So he actually declines the draw. So the fight continues, and then they get into a situation later in the game, Yu Yang Yi playing white. He's down a pawn, but he can force a perpetual. He has a perpetual. But if he declines the perpetual, it continues to be very murky. So I think he was a little incensed by getting his draw declined earlier. He declines the perpetual, goes all out for the win. Michael outplays him, gets into a rook and knight ending. They each have a rook and knight. Michael's a pawn up. But okay, he's playing at 2,700. He just wins it like clockwork.
Wow.
He just made it look effortless.
That's incredible.
And yeah, just an incredible upset and just an amazing game.
Ah, well, I appreciate that story. I mean,
great story. Yeah.
I mean, okay, we have to ask this question for anyone that's lower rated or layman. How hard is it to beat a 27 or above player?
You're asking the wrong person. Right. I've never beaten anyone over 27.
Okay, that's. I appreciate the candor.
It's hard. It's hard enough just to play someone over 2,700.
Right. Have you drawn anybody over 2,700?
Honestly, I don't know how many I've played. I played Hare Krishna.
Right.
The highest rated person I beat actually was close to 2,700. That was Ray Robson, but I think he was He was about 20 points under.
Oh well, that's. I mean, okay, it's Robson, so.
But yeah, other than Hare Krishna,
we'll give you the accolades for that because that's pretty good. That's pretty good to beat Robson.
It was a good win, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, is it hard to even, because you're saying it's like hard to even get the opportunity to play a player like that?
Well, because a lot of those guys are playing closed tournaments. They're playing elite tournaments.
Right. And then why do you think? I mean, do you think Michael just got in Yu Yangyi's head in that game?
I think he must have. I think he was totally in Yu Yangyi's head.
Do you think it was intentional, or was it just because Michael really cared about the position?
No, I don't think it was intentional at all. I mean, that's not really Michael's style.
Right.
I mean, Michael, what we talked about earlier, Michael is a great example of someone who plays the game to play the game.
Right.
He's, of course, he's not a young prodigy anymore. He used to be, but he's about 25 now. But he's always been someone who's really played for love of the game. And I think, titles probably mattered to him too, to some extent. He, looked at himself as pursuing a title, but that's someone who loves the game, who just has a passion for the game. He loves to play and he loves to compete.
That's incredible.
And so I think even that was part of the decision. I think he saw, while taking the draw would be a great achievement, I don't think he was ready to stop playing against Yu Yangyi. I think he was really excited to have that opportunity. And I think part of it was he just wanted to play it out and see what was going to happen. Right.
I understand that. I think there are two types of players like you mentioned with Shang and Michael Brown. Shang probably would have taken the draw in a heartbeat. And
I don't know about that.
Or maybe not?
I don't know about that.
Oh, you think Shang would have still gone on?
I mean, Josh is a very ambitious player.
Right.
No, I mean, I think Josh and Michael are very different, in their approach to chess and, even their philosophical approach and that kind of thing. But Josh is an incredible fighter. I mean, Josh declined the draw against Camille Dragoon when Dragoon had just moved to the U.S., I think was coming off winning the Polish championship, maybe like 2650 or something like, maybe a little lower, but, very strong. And he offered Josh a draw in a position where I don't think he was even objectively worse. And Josh declined the draw against him. So
Okay. So they still have the fighting spirit, just different styles.
They all do.
Yeah, just
there's no question about that.
Yeah, I guess you can't be, or I think it's very hard to take that competitive edge out of the player.
Yeah.
Anyway,
absolutely.
Especially to get to any level above FM, any level IM, GM. I mean,
sure. Yeah, there's always a competitive aspect there.
Right. Right. I mean, I'm an expert, so and I still play that way. Right?
Yeah, well, that's very good.
I stopped taking draws about
good for you,
5-6 years ago. I just fight. I just keep going.
Good.
Also,
that's the
I have nothing. I don't really care. Like, my rating doesn't really mean as much, right? Because I've built a career.
Well, and I think that mentality is kind of revolutionized recently.
Yeah.
I think when I was growing up, it's like opportunities used to be kind of fewer and farther between, and maybe they meant more. And I think now people are kind of like, they're not as enamored with getting, one big draw or something like that. They, I think people are hungry to play and hungry to fight and try to win. So in general, I think that's been a good, maturing of the mentality of players.
All right. So speaking of maturing of the mentality, give us one more San Diego player or Southern California player that.
I think you picked a good word. So yeah, let's go with Craig Hilby, and I'd say he's a very mature player and mature person, and definitely a great person, and has been a great friend over the years. So someone I'm very happy to talk about.
Awesome. So yeah, let's dive right in. I mean, first I have to say that Hilby is one of my favorite players in terms of how friendly he is.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy and very easy to talk to, and just kind of a chill, mellow personality.
Yeah.
Doesn't ruffle feathers or anything like that.
When did you first meet Hilby?
Well, so we first met over the board, and that was quite a story. It was the final round at one of the big San Diego events, and I think we were playing on maybe board 2 or 3, definitely, fighting for a good prize. And I'm still very new to Southern California at this point, and I'm playing black this game. And it was one of those tournaments where the pairing just goes up right before the round. And I think at this time, maybe he was like 2,300, 2,350, something like that. I was a solid IM. So he plays E4, and I go right into the dragon. And I'm like, this poor kid, if he had time to prepare for the game, he would have been, in good shape, or maybe I wouldn't have played the dragon. I don't really like playing the dragon against prep. But I was like, he had no time to prepare for the dragon, and there's zero chance that he knows it cold better than I do. I've been playing it for 20, 25 years. I thought I knew, every line. And so we're battling in the dragon. He goes right into a sharp line, and about move 15 or 16, something like that, I make the first mistake.
Oh, wow.
I was the first one to. It was a position I had seen before, and like I kind of knew what to do, but it's like there were basically three moves that looked playable, and I made the one you're not supposed to make. So, so I got into a lot of trouble. As a position where it's maybe like plus 1.5, +2 for white, and he's attacking me, he's putting me under pressure, and I really dug deep, and I played one of the best defensive games I'd ever played. I think it was about 15 moves in a row that were only moves. And some of them were harder than others, but it was like still, if I ever made any different move, I'm just done for. So, I made something like 15 only moves in a row.
Man.
I stayed in the game, and I got to a point where almost kind of similar to Michael's game, Craig had a perpetual if he wanted to force it. And if he decided not to, I think his other option was to go into an end game that was a little murky, a little unclear. So he thought about it, for a long time, and decided to play on to go into the end game. But definitely at that time, I was the little bit more savvy end game player, and that started to become apparent. And I was just kind of, working him little by little, starting to wrestle the advantage. And I think at some point he offered me a draw, and I declined pretty comfortably, and just kind of thought to myself, that ship left the harbor. You had your chance, and so I was pretty sure that I was going to grind out the end game and win. It was getting close to a deep end game where I was going to have a rook, bishop, and 2 connected passed pawns against 2 rooks, and I was sure that in practice there was no way that I wasn't winning that. Like, even if the engine said 0, it's an end game where the rooks can do nothing but defend.
Right.
And, you can just play forever and just keep trying stuff. However, right before I got into that ending, I think kind of the fatigue from, all the defense and all the pressure that I was under earlier in the game got to me, and I blundered. And I blundered just like a direct draw, like right away. So the game did end up being a draw.
Wow,
but
exciting.
It was just such an exciting and eventful game, and Craig and I have so much history after that, so I just thought it was kind of a funny introduction, meeting Craig for the first time that we had a game like that.
Yeah, and so then how did you work with Craig in the future?
Yeah, so I think it was kind of a similar thing. We started seeing each other at tournaments more and more, and we played some other games against each other. And I've still never beaten the guy in a tournament. I think he's +2 against me. He beat me once at a state championship, and another time at just a big American tournament. And we have a bunch of draws, but yeah, he's very solid. I definitely missed my best chances to beat him because I played him a few times, and he was still in the 2300s, but now he's stronger than me.
I missed my chance to beat him too.
Yeah.
I had
and he's not easy to beat. He's of that group, he might be the most solid player. He's a very solid player. He really cares about evaluations of positions and trying to play the right way. He's very meticulous and puts a lot of effort into that. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So your question was like, how did we get to know each other?
Real quick, though, I have a funny story for you about him offering me a draw.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
I had been winning. The position was complicated. It was a Lopez. And then I was playing white. And I actually had a way to win an exchange and go into an end game that I'm just better in, like +2, something like that. And then I chickened out and played a more solid move, right? Because it was a long, complicated calculation. I wasn't sure, and he's higher rated than me. I think
it's
he was
like intimidating.
2350 or something like that at the time. And then he played a move that forces a perpetual and basically, just a back and forth.
Okay, so
and he offered a draw. But I didn't see it right away. And he's looking at one of his friends, I can't remember who it was, and just laughing. And then I looked at the board and I started laughing myself. I was like, okay, yeah, it's a draw, I'm sorry. I said, I'll think about it, and he started laughing about that. Anyway, that's kind of silly. Kind of silly fun.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, just to not see it, and he's already seeing it. He saw it so quickly, I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue though. So you've worked with him on a lot of occasions, right?
Yeah. So I think at some point we just decided to work on chess together. We were both hungry, ambitious players, trying to get better, trying to make GM. Oh, another thing was actually before we even really knew each other that well. I was making a lot of chess.com videos at the time, and I made a video on one of his games. He had a sensational World Open event. I think that was kind of his big, coming out onto the national scene, because he was well known in SoCal, but I don't think he really played that much outside California, and I don't think people really knew who he was at that time. So, he's this 2,300 rated kid, and he's playing the World Open, and he beats Conrad Holt, and he draws Yusupov, and draws Irina Krush, and all these other GMs, and he wasn't losing any games. And, and then he beat Shabalov, who I think was a 6-time U.S. champion, of course, the first GM I played, and he just crushes Shabalov in this amazing attacking game in the Caro-Kann. And I was like, wow, that's such a cool game. So I decided to make a video of that game. And the game was played on the 4th of July, so I called it Fireworks on the 4th, and made a good video of that game. And I think after that, he and I started to talk more and get to know each other better. And at some point, we decided that we'd train together, and we used to do that quite a lot. And then as the San Diego Surfers took off, I think we all just got very close. We started meeting up, to play some matches in person, and started training together more. And Craig, Josh, and I were running the San Diego Surfers camps, and we all traveled
for people that don't know the San Diego Surfers, that's the U.S. chess.
Yeah, the Pro Chess League.
Team,
from Southern California.
Right. You started in the U.S. Chess League, and then you went into
for one season we were in the U.S. Chess League.
Yeah, that's right. And then when the Pro Chess League took over and became this big thing, you guys had a great team, didn't you?
Oh yeah, great team. And it was the best team that nobody talked about. It was funny because our first season we were the only team to start 4-0 and then go to 5-0. And I don't think we even got mentioned in the chess.com feature articles.
Oh, man.
They were just all about Magnus's team. And
I wrote an article about you guys. But
I hope you meant. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because I was doing the Pro Chess, kind of.
Yeah, that's right.
Quick blurbs. They were quick blurbs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, well, at least we got a shout from Coach Q. So.
That's right. No, it was on chess.com.
We had an incredible team, and the amazing thing was we really didn't have any stars. Our top player was Dreyev, who's just this, blue collar, bring your lunch pail to work GM, just out punching everybody.
Right.
And then, we have all these amazing up and coming kids, like Craig and Josh and Michael. And then later on we had John Bryant too. And
that's
Tatev,
right.
And, we just had a great team. Melik, of course.
Yeah. So that's a kind of good segue into our last segment, which you brought your own special twist on that I like a lot. So, we're zooming out to worldwide talent and US wide and worldwide. So you wanted to talk about some streamers. This is interesting. I like that a lot.
Well, I think, streamers are really, big and important for chess right now because they've popularized it so much, and you have such an audience now who is following chess online, and that's like really the only way they know chess is almost more as a video game or an esport. So I think chess streaming is really fascinating, and I think it's revolutionized the game, and it's a big thing. So I think it's a good thing for us to talk about.
Excellent. Who do you want to start with?
Well, I think Nakamura is a big streamer, and also just a larger than life chess personality. So
let's pull him up real quick.
He's probably a good place to start.
Oops. Forgive my spelling, everybody, if you watched me type that in. I did not spell chess correctly, which is embarrassing.
Oh, I thought you misspelled Nakamura. It was chess that you misspelled.
No, it was chess. The harder word. Anyway, so we got Nakamura up side by side with you. Him looking very, very mean in a tournament.
I remember that picture. Yeah.
Let's talk about his streaming though. First he's a top 10 GM. So super GM. Everybody should know who Nakamura is, but if you don't, he's one of the top American grandmasters ever. Child prodigy. Kierwa played with him and beat him. So he's got a lot to his name. And he had to live up to losing to Keaton here. So I think that's probably why he made his show.
He was 13, but
yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, the blitz match that we played against each other.
Yeah, I think
so. I narrowly avoided adoption. I think he was up like 8-0 or 9-0.
Right.
And I reeled off a win at the last minute.
Okay.
The good old Trompowski got I think my only win of the match.
Yeah, I think Nakamura is probably one of the top 3 streamers, I'm guessing, in the world.
I would think. I guess. Yeah, of course, Naroditsky and others. Of course, the female one.
Gotham Chess is number 1 on YouTube.
Is he really? He's
on
number
YouTube,
1?
Wow. On YouTube, at least. I don't know about Twitch.
Okay.
I know he's number 1 on YouTube, which kind of makes sense because it's a different type of audience than Twitch. And I think Botez is probably number 1 on Twitch.
Okay.
So, anyway, but let's talk about Nakamura first. We'll get to those guys and ladies. Why is Nakamura interesting to watch on stream?
I think he's interesting because he's a top player. He's very articulate. You know, he speaks well. Explains concepts well and ideas and stuff like that. He's extremely competitive, so I think he puts on a good show. You never quite know what he's going to say or what he's going to do or how he's going to react if he loses, So.
Yeah. And how does he bring his talent to his show? Like, what about his talent makes him a good streamer?
Well, I think he's always been a great blitz player. He's someone who really cut his teeth on blitz growing up, which is, not necessarily the most common path for a world top 10 player.
Yeah.
I think he definitely has always been more blitz heavy than those guys have. And I think that's kind of part of the New York culture where he grew up, the park hustling and stuff like that. It's like blitz is very popular in New York. So it was something that he always did a lot of. And so I think, it's come full circle that he's able to, make his widest contribution to chess, by playing blitz.
Makes sense, yeah. Blitz is probably the future of visual chess, of watching chess.
Honestly, I kind of hope it is, because when I watch strong players play blitz and I watch strong players play long classical time controls, the minute difference in their level in those longer time controls, in my opinion, is just nowhere near enough to justify how much longer the time controls are. It's like you can have a game that lasts 5 minutes or a game that lasts 3 or 4 hours, and the quality, it's only a little better, in the longer games. It's like, of course, yeah, in Blitz, there's going to be blunders and stuff like that would never happen in classical games. So if you're a chess purist, then you have to
yeah,
support classical chess. But
that's I'd have to label that one a hot take. That's kind of a hot take that the level isn't that different.
That's what I would say. Yeah. You watch Magnus play Blitz. I think Magnus, you could just extract Magnus's level in a 1-minute bullet game and put it against my level in the classical game. He's probably going to beat me 10-0.
Yeah. He's also a legend, right? Like, if you could, he's arguably number one in history, and if not the top 5, right? Like, there's no real comparison to hardly anybody, including Nakamura, which Nakamura
for sure,
would rage on stream about.
In Blitz, Nakamura can hang with him.
Yeah, true.
True. Not in classical chess.
I feel like they flip-flop sometimes in the Blitz rankings. Nakamura goes to Magnus drops. Anyway, let's move on to another streamer. Who do you want to pull out next?
Oh, we can talk about the Botez sisters.
Okay.
They're, of course, very popular, although I don't know a ton about them other than what's already known. But
yeah, they have popularized chess in a completely different way than, I would say, anybody in chess history, frankly. They've made it...
Yeah, they certainly have a huge following.
Yeah, they've made it more of like a... I don't even know how to describe it. It's like just a reality TV show.
Yeah, I haven't watched enough of their streams to know, but I guess, just going on what I've heard, sounds...
Yeah, why is having, women and people like Botez's in the chess space valuable, at least then? If you don't know much about them, I'm sure you understand what they're contributing.
Yeah, well, I think it's valuable because chess has always been a game that's so predominantly male-dominated.
Yeah.
So many more males than females playing chess. So I think it's good for a lot of reasons. It shows that women can play chess and love chess and have a big impact on chess. And I think it's inspiring, for girls, to see women have a big name in chess, have kind of a celebrity status in chess.
What about popularizing chess just in general? With the wider culture, getting beyond our...
That's true. Well, of course, I think the Queen's Gambit really did that, and that had a female star. Right. So, yeah, I think the Queen's Gambit and the Botez sisters have done a lot to make chess more popular and more sexy, depending on who you ask.
Well, yeah, when you point it out, too, though, they're all tied together. The rise of the Queen's Gambit one, the rise of chess streaming, and the rise in the popularity of chess, I would say. And then over the pandemic period, where, everybody was just sitting at home. Mm-hmm. And obviously chess is a non-contact sport, and you don't need to be outside. So the streaming also did that. They all kind of mix and mingle together in popular culture.
Right. Yeah.
So this is talking talent, right? We're talking about talent. So how do you think they will? What kind of impact will they have on future talent? Do you think they'll widen the pool, or is there something else that will contribute to that? Because the pool is widening, right?
You're asking about the Botez sisters specifically?
No, just streamers in general.
Oh, streamers in general?
Streamers in general.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question that that streamers are already and have been and will continue to make a huge contribution to the pool of talent, because a lot of times talent is dormant. It's hidden and undiscovered. So simply the more people that you get into chess, the more uncovered talent there will be.
Right, right. I mean, that's an amazing point. You know, the hidden talent.
Absolutely.
And who once the talent is discovered, right? Who's best to guide those talented young players?
Honestly, I'd say themselves. It's like you always have to find inner guidance. And especially in today's world, there's never any shortage of resources.
Right.
There are so many coaches, so many modalities. It's like you can learn chess doing stuff on chess.com. You can watch streamers, you can watch YouTube videos. There are just so many ways to learn chess now.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, like with so many things, like, you know, that I'm really into spirituality, and I think it used to be that to take off in spirituality, maybe you needed a guide or a guru, someone who could kind of show you the way.
Right.
And I think that's a lot easier now too. There are so many books, there's so much online. You can really just kind of go within and just see where you're guided to go, and you can learn and have your own experience and your own evolution. And I think you can do that in anything, in spirituality, in chess, in sports. So I think the nature of the world, the way technology is right now and the way society is right now, it's very good for people to be able to have their own experience and be their own authority and trust their own judgment, and to learn by doing that, as opposed to needing to look anywhere else. But of course, that being said, you know, if someone has a mentor, a guide who's really a resonance for them and that they're learning a lot from, you know, that can be a wonderful thing too.
Right, right. But you do hit the nail on the head there, to use a terrible cliche, but I mean, you make a very good point in the sense that you have to have the self-motivation in chess.
Oh, of course.
Because the number of hours it's going to take to reach high levels in the game is incredible, right?
Yeah, it has to come from you.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many other vocations where you have to spend like 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right? There's not many. Like, to become world champion, you have to give every moment of your day.
Yeah.
every element of your waking life to actually get there, right? And you may never, even if you are a very, very strong player, right?
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciate that, Keaton. And you know, we're getting long on time here, so I want to wrap up. Do you have any closing words for those talent that are trying to look inside but have trouble with their, you know, maybe the complexity of chess or the loss tolerance, anything like that? Any words of advice that you want to give them?
Absolutely. So yeah, as far as loss tolerance, that is an inevitable part of the game. So just know that, and then be able to plan accordingly.
Right.
But, you know, honestly, I think in anything, you're not really going to go a long way without getting beat up. That's just kind of part of any journey or struggle. So it's like sometimes you have to go through the washing machine. You have to pay your dues. You have to learn. So I would say, you know, just try to have a mentality where, try to have a growth mentality where you learn as much as you can and grow as much as you can, and you evolve, and you know it's all going to help you in getting where you're headed and where you need to go. And I would say focus on what you can control, and relinquish your attention from what's outside of your control. So these days when I play a chess game, I focus on playing as well as I can as well as I can play, and competing as well as I can compete, because that's what I can control. But I can't control how well my opponent plays. I can influence the result of the game, but I can't control it. Otherwise, I'd win every time. So I think just focusing your attention on what you can do and on what you can control, and following your passion, your inspiration. Make sure that you're playing for the right reasons. Make sure you look inside and say, okay, why am I playing chess? What do I want to gain from playing chess?
Right.
And if you're playing for intrinsic reasons, I think that's very good. If you feel like the games can unlock your creativity, you know, your potential, can make you a better person, can teach you about life, It can be fun. If you're really enjoying your journey, then it's wonderful for you. But if you're set on like some kind of external goal or some title or something like that, maybe ask yourself why. What
Right.
what does this title actually mean? Why does it mean so much to me? Is it okay if I don't get this title? Ask yourself questions like that is probably.
Wow, we need a segment that's just wise words with Coach Keaton. That was really good.
Some of my friends get that all too often. They don't want it anymore. Trust me.
Okay, one more thing before we wrap up. Do you want to direct your fans anywhere to any website or any?
Yeah, we can give my website. So I have a chess website that's KeatonKierwa.chess.com.
All right, we'll put that in the link here.
For private lessons, group lessons, that kind of thing.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Keaton, for sharing.
Hey, thanks so much, Coach Q. It's been a pleasure. Great talk today.
Yeah, you too. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is Coach Q, and I had International Master Keaton Kierwa on today. Great talk.
Wait, would you guys like your fortune?
Oh yeah, let's get the fortune. Yeah.
I was just fiddling with this in my hand. I didn't know what it was.
Sure.
Even in the greatest confusion, there is an open channel into the soul.
Ah, that is great for the talent to know. For all you
came up
top talent out there. All right.